record for EDFE 130. If you have not signed in, we won't know you're here. So there are 2 people up above. If you have not signed in, please leave your seat, go and sign in. Everybody's good? Awesome. Well, happy January. Everybody doing well? Getting ready to start? So what we're going to be speaking about this evening is getting ready for, making application for student teaching. That's the whole point of EDFE 130. Okay? This is a 0 credit class for which if you mess it up, it'll cost you semesters. Don't mess it up. Okay? That was kind of a joke. You guys are like, you're like a painting. I'd like to get a reaction. All right, so without much further ado, I would like to introduce someone to you that you may have met before, but is super important to all of us. That is our Associate Dean and Director of the School of Teacher Education, Dr. Jinji Wang. Thank
you. I believe that I have met with all of you, right? EDFE 110? Yeah. The mandatory meeting, remember? Yeah, I was that person who talked with you, okay, for some time, and you happen to have missed that particular one. I'm sure you were asked to go to the videotape session, right? So I believe all of you have seen me, but because I don't see you that often after that, you probably have forgotten about it. But this is the second time that I'm seeing you in this kind of environment. And that's because, you know, you have been so successful so far that you got to the point that you're ready to apply for student, is it for student teaching, right? Yeah, for student teaching, exactly, okay. And actually, Lynette Kerrigan will go through a lot of things, and also Dr. Charlie Warren will also go through some kind of requirements for you. But you know, some of the typical thing right here that I would like you to pay attention to. Before you start your student teaching, you really need to have all your coursework completed with good GPA. That's very important, okay? Different programs will have different GPA requirements. I remember the elementary one because that is easy. It's our largest program, that is 3.0. But then there are some secondary programs, and different programs may have different requirements. You really have to follow that GPA requirement. That's one thing, okay? And also, typically, we don't allow you to take extra courses to go with your student teaching unless your program is designed in such a way that will require you to take another course. Typically, we don't allow that, okay? That is really because student teaching is almost like a full-time job. Actually, it's more than a full-time job. That's because, you know, if you really, it's your full-time job, it is your classroom, you're the teacher, you're in charge, you know, you do everything yourself. But in student teaching, you are also being watched. Okay, you are watched by your copy teacher, by your supervisor, also by the school principal. It's a kind of like a 4-month job interview. Okay? And quite often, your strongest references will come from your student teaching experience. That is extremely, extremely important, and you cannot afford not to be successful. And that's why I really would like you to concentrate, 100% concentrate on student teaching, because you know you are going to be treated as a full-time teacher with extra tasks. What is that extra task? You also have to work on a huge project. For some programs, it's called the TWS, which is Teacher Work Sample. You heard about that? Some of you are nodding, right? For some other people, they call it capstone, which is a big unit design, okay, instructional design. And this project has to be field-based. And it is something that a typical school teacher wouldn't do. But as teacher candidate, you have to work on this project to demonstrate your thinking process, to demonstrate that you know what you're doing. And that takes extra time, okay? And your professors, your university supervisors will work with you, but still, it is your time that you are put into. That's the reason that we really don't encourage you to take extra courses when you do student teaching. Okay, think about that. A full-time job itself is new. And even the first-year teacher, not a kind of teacher candidate, still have to stay up later until like 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. Not to say you are doing it as a student teacher. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just telling you, if you really, really want to do a good job, it's extremely important, okay, for you to give 100% of yourself into this, okay? So this is one thing, and yes, for student teaching praxis, you really have to take that test if that's what your program requires, right? We probably do that, okay. I really don't make exceptions. Okay, in the past, I made, I think in the past 6 years since I joined UNC, okay, I made only 2 exceptions. Every year, we had about 300 student teachers, 300 to 500 student teachers, every year. Every year, we had 300 to 500 student teachers, and I only gave 2 exceptions. One exception, this is an English language speaker, actually, an ESL student who's in our program, and she missed 1 point to pass the praxis, and she did not know she could get time accommodation. All right? So actually, there was a good reason for me to allow her to get into student teaching, because also her professor told me she's very, very strong. She just needed extra 10 minutes to be able to get the score. Okay, so in that case, I did approve it, and indeed, she came back passing the praxis during student teaching. Okay, so when I give exceptions, it has to be really, really exceptional case. You cannot just tell me, well, you know what, I took praxis for 6 times already. I just can't pass it. Can I get into student teacher? I said, no, you cannot, because there are tons of other students who are in the same boat. I tell them why I'm not going to allow that. It's really for your sake. That's because in Colorado, coming out of this program, if you don't pass your praxis, guess what? The state is not going to license you. And student teaching is 9 to 12 credit hours, depending on which programs you are in, okay? Say if it is 9 credits, 12 credits, you have to pay the tuition. And also it's a whole semester of your time. After you do all this, and you cannot get your license, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of your money. And ethically, I cannot allow that, okay? And also we have this rule, it's also because of tons of cases that happened in the past across the nation, not only at UNC, but also at other institutions that have a teacher education program. You know, sometimes you feel this is what you need to do, you just want to get into it, and then later on you found out you will never be licensed, not never be, at least you are not going to be licensed because you could not pass the praxis, guess what? And then the parents will come to see us. They'll say, well, you know that. You knew that. Why did you allow my child to get into student teaching? Okay, the School of Teacher Education complained many, many times. We learned our lesson, and the parents are right, because they help the children pay the tuition. So we're not going to do that anymore, okay? Exceptions are exceptions. Exceptions have to be based on real exceptionality. Okay, just let you know about this. And then meetings, attend the teacher education, content-based orientation. Oh, we will have all kinds of meetings, orientations. And also after you are placed in the school and before you start student teaching, we do have the orientation for you to meet with your supervisors, okay, and sometimes with the copy teachers, and you really, really have to attend all these meetings, okay, because there's a time really you get to know about your supervisors, and supervisors get to know about you, and your UNC supervisors actually are on your side. They are working with you to help you succeed. Whenever you have some issues with the school, actually it's the UNC supervisors who are supposed to work with you to help you resolve the issues, okay? Either, you know, talk with the copy teachers, or also maybe they could help you or teach you how to talk to the school in a kind of professional way to make it work, okay? So that's very, very important. Okay, the professional dispositions, this is the thing that I introduced to you in EDFE 110 when I met with you for the first time. It's a chart that nobody can really read because the words are really small. However, all of you, you should have it. Okay, you have access to this particular chart. Okay? And I really would like you to review this again because you will be evaluated for disposition and professionalism. Okay? And something that I really want to mention, I never talked about in the past, about a case that happened last semester triggered me to tell you about that. Okay, I happen to have a student, for whatever reason, the parents, okay, really wanted to surprise the student. So, the parents basically arranged for a vacation during student teaching without telling the student. And then the parents told the student, okay, we're going to have a vacation during student teaching. And the student was really, it's a pleasant surprise, whatever. So the student, okay, went to the placement, basically the school, okay, to talk to the cooperating teacher. And the cooperating teacher basically said, sure, you can do whatever you want, we'll make an arrangement for you. Okay, that is before the student teaching really started. Guess what? This is not allowed, okay? Number one, student teaching is a UNC course. If you look at the curriculum, okay, it is not just some kind of random internship. It's a UNC course. Every single UNC course has an instructor, okay? And the instructor is responsible for this course. And in this case, actually, it depends on which programs you are in, okay? It could be your program coordinator. It could be a designated professor who's in charge of the student teaching course. And this instructor of the course actually is the only person who has the authority to approve any absence. And the absences that we would approve quite often, okay, the kind of absences we would approve quite often are listed, such as death in the family. You need to have the death certificate to show that, okay? You are hospitalized or some kind of medical issues that you have to take care of, we need a note from the hospital, from the doctors, okay? You run into a car accident, we need a police report, something to show that. I'll give you some examples, okay? These are, jury duty, that's another one, okay? So there are some legitimate absences for sure, okay? And there's tons of other things that are not going to be listed to tell you these are the things that you are not allowed to do. We don't list that because those things that you are not allowed to do could be endless, okay? And actually, when I was handling this issue of the students asking for vacation during student teaching, it's not 2-day vacation. We're talking about like an 8-day vacation. So, during student teaching. And one of the arguments is that, okay, nowhere in the policy has it said that I'm not allowed to take a vacation. Well, you know what, you go to a workplace, okay, when your boss expects you to be on the job, quite often you wouldn't see you are not supposed to take a vacation during, right? You can make an arrangement for a certain kind of job, that kind of thing. Depends on what kind of job you have, okay? If you become a school teacher, I don't think that in your contract you are going to say, okay, I'm allowed to take a vacation for 2 weeks during the regular semester. That's not what teaching profession is about. You do have your summer vacation, you do have your winter vacation, right? Okay, so that's something that we're not going to list, but it's common sense. To be honest with you, in my past 20 years in higher education, working with teacher candidates, this is the first time I've ever been asked about having a long, like more than 1 week vacation during student teaching. So actually, I was not even prepared to answer the question. So, right, it is not listed anywhere, but why do we list it? But if you really think about it, we cannot list all the things that we take for common sense. Okay, so this is something that I really would like you to know. Number one, for any planned absence, you need to talk with your university instructor. Okay, that is very important. Another thing, sometimes you talk with your cooperating teacher. Typically, they don't know about our policy. They don't know about the specific requirement of courses. And they just assume that UNC would allow you to do that. So that's one of the reasons they will say yes to anything that you ask for. And plus, they sort of want you to be happy, okay? They tend to say yes to everything, anything, and then you get yourself into trouble. So that is why I really, really would like you to talk with your UNC person in charge of the course, okay? It's not that we are trying to give you a difficult time, but quite often your professors will work with you to say, hey, this doesn't work this time, this doesn't work that time, but probably you want to consider doing it this way or that way. I don't know what kind of reasons you have that you need to have some kind of planned absences. It really depends on the situation, all right? So I would just like you to know that this is very important. One more thing. When you really, really have some issues with a particular requirement or with the instructor of the course for student teaching or with your copying teacher, okay, there is this kind of, I'm just saying chain of commands, but actually it's not really like that. But there's a certain way because when you get into some kind of situation, of course you can go to the university right away, okay? You can complain to the dean of students' office, you can complain to the university president. Guess what will happen right away? If you have never talked with the professor, you have never talked with the department, that complaint goes back to us right away. Because at the top, the president doesn't know what is going on. They will ask us to look into it, okay? So the best way actually to save your time, to make things happen more quickly for you, the easier way is that unless it is sexual harassment, okay, that's different, then probably you want to skip that person to report to the boss of that person, okay? Other than that, all other academic issues, talk with the professor or UNC supervisor first. Try to resolve it there. But if you cannot do it at that point, go above one level. All right? So if you are in School of Teacher Education elementary program, for sure you should talk with Dr. Kim Creasy first, and then if it doesn't work, talk to me. Okay? And I'll see if you are reasonable or the professor is reasonable. I can explain to you or I can explain to the professor, whatever. However, if we cannot resolve the issue, then you go up there. At least there is the kind of thing you tried. Actually, that way is easier and faster. I can tell you that. Okay? So these are some of the things that I really would like you to know. And this professionalism actually also includes how you handle conflicts, how you work with colleagues, and how you deal with issues with students in the classroom when you become a student teacher, and the kind of situation you have with parents, with your copying teachers and the principal. Sometimes you are guests in the school, right? Yeah, even though you're placed for student teaching, we are their guests in the school setting, and sometimes it's a bit tricky. Okay, whenever you're not so sure how to handle it, talk with your university supervisor. Okay, that's very, very important. Unless you really, really have a personality conflict with your supervisor, okay? You really have a big issue. There's no way for you to work with your supervisor. You need to talk with the program coordinator, and we'll see how we can, find another way or whatever. If you are reasonable, if you have a good reason, good rationale to support your, request. Okay. Okay. Anything else I need to talk about at this point? Okay, so I guess, I really, I probably there's nothing I have to say. I really want to congratulate you. That's because you have gone so far and you have got to this stage, which really means you have done a great job. I really would like you still have one more semester before you get into student teaching, okay? So you still have to continue to do a good job for this portion of the semester, and then, you will move on, okay? And this semester will better prepare you for your student teaching, and not only in Colorado, but the whole nation, there's still this shortage of teachers. And of course, it also depends on what content areas, okay? And I really would like you to, the shortage of teachers really means that they need a lot of teachers, but at the same time, a lot of school districts are also looking for the teachers that they can really, really use to help the schools, okay? It's not they are going to grab anybody in the world. That's because, they don't want to have more trouble because they hire you. They want you, as a result of hiring you, then you can really help, okay, in the school districts. So, continue to work hard and continue to do a good job. And I really want to see all of you getting into student teaching next semester, which is the fall semester. Yes. Right? Okay, and also Annette is going to give you information about other things like rural district stuff with student teaching, and also international setting if you want to do that. Okay, and all kinds of things that a lot of options for you. Okay, you can teach in Colorado, you can teach in other states, you can teach in the world, whatever that you're thinking about, but no matter what, we have to follow the Colorado requirements for teachers. All right, good. This is all that I have to tell you, and I really wish you a great semester, and I want to see all of you before you get into student teaching. Okay?